Welcome back. Federal employee engagement is up this year despite the challenges from the pandemic. About 3/4 of federal employees say their work gives them a sense of personal accomplishment. Max Stier is president and CEO of the Partnership for Public Service. He's writing about public service in GovExec with Craig Newmark. Max, welcome. It's good to see you again. Happy Public Service Recognition Week to you. What'd you take away from the FEVS numbers? Anything that jumped out at you?
A lot, and it begins with saying thank you to an amazing set of public servants in government. Those survey numbers are astonishing in the fact that we just have been going through the most difficult period, certainly in our lifetimes, from public health issues. And our government has performed remarkably well, and the workforce has been motivated and driven to achieve mission despite all the challenges. Those numbers demonstrate how lucky we are to have the workforce that we do.
What do you make of the big difference between the satisfaction levels with employees who work remotely and the folks that had to come into the office? How much of that do you think we can attribute to the actual work location, and how much of it is the types of jobs that people still had to come into the office to do even during a public health crisis?
So we see historically that the engagement numbers, the morale numbers, are typically higher for those that have been teleworking. So obviously we went from 3% to 60% self-reported teleworking consistently. A huge change at the drop of a single moment. But I think that the norms are that most folks are getting work done and getting work done in a better way if they have that flexibility of operating remotely. And so, yes, there are certain communities, the intelligence community, those that work with classified material, that can't really telework in this way. But I think one of the most important takeaways here is that we can have our cake and eat it too. We can actually get the work of government done very effectively and have a more engaged workforce if we reimagine, not just during a pandemic, but in normal times, a workforce that is operating frequently remotely. And to me, this is a moment where we can actually take the innovation that has been driven by necessity and use it to reimagine our government in a way that is going to be more powerful going forward.
What's the role of organizations like yours, Max, to do that reimagining? How can you help agencies think through what normal looks like in January of 2023 or January of 2026?
So a good example of that is we actually put out a report identifying all these bright spots that are occurring across government right now. And part of our goal, and this is part of our methodology, is to find what's right with government. It's the normal infrastructure is always looking for problems. You need to know where the problems are, but even more important is you need to know where the solutions are. And by identifying bright spots, you have a much better chance of actually helping the entire organization get better. So that's one place that we believe we can help consistently. We're also advocating for agencies to see this as a moment of reform. I think we can see a government, one of the great examples of this is telemedicine, where you saw almost a 2,000% increase in telemedicine at the VA, something that, again, was required by necessity. You couldn't have people coming in the same way, but offers huge opportunities for improved healthcare and better access over time if done right. So we need to, again, harness and harvest those innovations and make those the future state going forward.
I'm old-fashioned. I like paper, and I have a printout of that report on my desk, Max. It's 4, 5, maybe 6 pages of bright spots that you found during the pandemic, not all related to the pandemic, I don't believe, but just success stories that are happening despite what's going on. One of the ways that you help highlight those success stories is the Service to America medals every year. New round of Sammys finalists that we learned about on Monday. What jumps out at you in that class this year?
So it's overwhelming, and we have a new category, of pandemic response, incredible people that are going to be recognized there. But it's across the board. One of the other things that is so remarkable is obviously the entire government was focused on pandemic response, whether it was health related or economic issues or just security of people. But at the same time, all the other functions of government were ongoing, and they were going on at a time in which the value of that work was even more important and people were doing exceptional things, even though they themselves were having to deal with the challenges of the pandemic. And we will be releasing the finalists in a really, I think, attractive video form on Wednesday at 12:30. And I hope as many of your viewers will come look at that as possible, because I think they'll be excited by what they see.
Less than a minute left, Max. You've been very kind over the years. It's been a decade or more that I've had the chance to meet these Sammys finalists, both on the radio and now on television. I'm grateful for that. What do we know yet, if anything, about what might be different about the gala this year? Because it's one of my favorite events in Washington every year.
So our intent is to come back to a physical gala and to do the virtual. I mean, what we saw is by doing the film we did last year, we had, I don't know what the number is, 1,000x, whatever it is, people get to see it. And so we intend to do the same thing this year and make sure that we can also have the intimate gathering safely as well in the fall. So we feel like we've been a lemonade factory. We learned a lot. We're going to continue to do the virtual and marry it to a physical event as well. And, we need to get the word out. So, Gov Exec ran a nice piece with Craig Newmark, extolling the value of public service. We need as many voices speaking up as possible, because we need a government working as best as possible, and recognizing when things happen well is vital to a government working well.
Max, we're going to put a link to your piece with Craig Newmark at govmatters.tv/resources. It's great to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for all that you're doing.